can now with the camera. Yeah, welcome again, for your time.
Okay,
You look inspired.
welcome again. This talk was originally intended to be about new development. The problem is that something like 80% of that talk was about Savannah. And right now we have got a little funny situation with Savannah. I don't know if you realized, but we had to stop accepting new projects to be hosted in Savannah because we need help with the administration of the system. So I understood that my talk would be something like an invitation to use savannah.non-GNU.org to host your own project, so that's why we are changing the topic. Well, I will be talking about the GNU Recutils. This is a fairly new software that they started last year, and it is about, I tell you what it's about, so if you are not interested, you can just leave. The Recutils are about storing data in text files. It is basically an implementation of a database in plain text files. The goal being to be able to edit your databases either by opening a text editor and directly altering your files, or using some programs or scripts to manipulate the data in an automatic way. Can you read that, or is this too small? You can read it. Okay. I originally prepared this for a different resolution. Okay, the GNU Recutils. Basically, the Recutils are a pack containing the definition of a format, the description of a text format, which is called, I call it the rec format, rec for record, and then some software. Basically, a libRec library containing, it is a C library that you can use to write your own programs to edit or alter or process rec files. Then a set of utilities, small utilities in the Unix philosophy, which is little utilities doing not a lot of things. We will see there is recshell to extract information from rec files, recins to insert data, templates, and other facilities. Of course, an Emacs mode, because you need to be able to edit your rec files in a proper way. And then we will see what is the current status of the project and what plans do we have for the future. Okay, why Recutils? Imagine that you want to store some data, well, not in huge quantities. Okay, what could you do? You could use a database management system, such as MySQL or PostgreSQL. Well, okay, it's fine, but then you need a deployment of the relational system, right? You need MySQL to be installed in your system. Probably you will need root access to your system. So it is probably overkill. Imagine that the data that you want to store is, I don't know, a list of the functions defined in a project of you that you are writing in C, for example, and it's a MACIF number of the function. Imagine that you are trying to get some quality metrics from your software, for example. So a little database. Clearly, to use MySQL would be overkill, at least for me. But okay, that's why someone invented SQLite, right? When you want to use a smaller database, okay, you don't want to have to install a MySQL and to manage it, but let's use SQLite. But then we find out that the files operated by SQLite are binary files. So, for example, they are not nice to be included in a Git repository, for example, or a CVS repository. You can get diffs, and then you need SQLite to be able to read what is in the file. So even SQLite could be overkill. Of course, why is SQLite using binary files? Because it is intended for performance reasons, basically. It's intended to be fast. Then the next step down, we could say, is you could consider using XML or even Lisp symbolic expressions in a text file. Okay, that could work. But for example, XML is good, some people say, I hate it personally, but okay. Some people say that XML is a good format if you want to store hierarchies or trees, right? Okay, you can say this is A is composed by B, C, D, or whatever. You make your tree, which is right. And I am open to believe and to accept for XML to be human readable. But I will never admit XML to be human readable, because in practice it is not. It's horrible to read XML, and it's not comfortable at all to write it. And what if we wanted to store a list of records? I mean, name of the function, cyclomatic complexity, which is a string and a number. Even XML could be overkill. So then we can consider to use comma-separated values file, which, okay, maybe they are offering the power that we need, but again, it's a pain in the ass to edit them and to read them, because usually they use escape techniques so you can get in a single line full text, right, with new lines and everything. So usually, to open a comma-separated value file, when the format of the fields is not restricted, it could be painful as well. So we can see that there is room for a new kind of, I don't know, solution for this, right? It is too small. Can you read it? Okay. So that's why I consider this. That is a rec file. The part in white. It could not be more simple than that, you see? Basically, we have a set of records separated by new lines, and every record is composed by a number of fields. And each field, you have the name of the field, a colon character, and then the value. Simple, right? That is a rec file. Now we will see that you can do more things than this, but in its more simple expression, this is a rec file. Even an empty file is a valid rec file. More simple than that, impossible, right? Well, here we have got a list of contacts. Look, note for example that in the first record, we have got two fields having the same field name. So now you will realize immediately that this is not equivalent to a relational relation, right? It's not a table in a relational database, because in this case we have got two fields with the same name in the same record. Why? Because it is convenient. Why not? Okay, that is what I just described. The fields have the name of the field, colon, then the value. Then, note this. What was one of the problems of comma-separated values? That for the benefit of the programs operating of the files, only for the benefits of the programs, the lines use escape characters so everything can fit in a single physical line, which is painful to read for a human. But in a rec file, for example, you can split logical lines into physical ones. So when someone opens the rec file with a text editor, you get the stuff in a readable way. But it's more than that. Look. You can use continuation lines, which means that this is a field, the name is address, and then the value is a multi-line value. This is similar to the Debian package description files, but they are using indentation to support multiple lines. In rec files, we are using a plus character at the beginning of the line, so it is readable, and it is easy to edit as well. That is the idea. Then, of course, you can put comments into rec files as well. An application is, for example, to tell Emacs that you want to use the rec mode if you open the file. But it is useful as well. Okay, you can have a header describing the data you are storing in the file, but it is very useful as well to comment out fields in case you need it. Like here in this example. Okay, that is the minimal format. Then we will see that you can make it a little more complex and getting more facilities. As we have seen in previous examples, there is no restriction in how the records are composed in a rec file. So you, for example, there is not a restriction that every record must have the same fields with the same names and the same order. No. You can have a record with 10 fields and the next one just with 1. It is unrestricted by default. But then, most of the time, it's usual that you want to store several records describing the same thing. For example, imagine that you are maintaining a stockage of, I don't know, toys. And you want to maintain a little database with the kind of item, with, I don't know, the name, an ID for the item, the date the item was inserted in your deposit. Every record is representing the same thing, right? That's the idea. So somehow it is interesting to have the possibility of introducing some kind of data integrity control on your database. And in Reg files you do that by grouping the records representing the same things together, physically together, one after the other, and preparing them with special records which I call record descriptors. You see, in this case, for example, we will put the records of type foo here after this. This is a record descriptor with just one field. It uses, as you can see, special field names which start with a percentage sign. For example, this reg and this one, because of type bar. This is an example. This GNU.reg is a reg file that could be, minimum version of course, a database containing information about the GNU maintainers and the GNU packages. As you can see, in the same file we have those two records which correspond to maintainers, and those two records who correspond to packages. For each maintainer we are storing the name and the email, and for the packages, the name of the package and then the URL of the main page or whatever. So in a single reg file we can store different kind of records. But not only we can specify the type of the record. In the record descriptor we can do many more things in reg files. For example, we can declare a specific field as mandatory, meaning that every record of that type must have at least one field of having that name. For example, if in our GNU database we want to make sure that all the maintainers are reachable, well, that means that we want to have at least one email per maintainer. So we would use mandatory email. In the same spirit of data integrity, we can forbid, this is ugly but it's useful sometimes, we can forbid fields having a specific name in the records of a given type. We can, as well, we can restrict the records, so at most one email is stored per maintainer, for example. We don't want records having more than one field with a given name. This is with unique. We can declare keys, primary keys as well. For example, if we want that the primary key of our list of maintainers to be the email, we can use key email. The reg file support types as well. So for example, we will see how you can declare that the email of a maintainer, it must be a valid, actual valid email. It's possible to declare name types, so you don't have to declare the same time 5 times. It's a type there. So all those ones are about data integrity. But then you have got many more facilities. So for example, you can specify a sorting, the preferred sorting criteria for your data. You can specify with using the auto field. You can implement auto counters and timestamps in your records. You can specify restrictions in the size of your record sets. For example, at match we want to store information for 100 maintainers. Well, this doesn't make sense. In our case, it's just the opposite. The more maintainers, the better, right? You can, reg files support encryption as well. We will see how, using the confidential special field. This is useful, for example, when you are maintaining, I don't know, a list of contributors for your project. You're storing the name of the contributor, emails, that kind of public information. But then you are storing the passwords of those contributors to, I don't know, the backtracking tool. So with reg files, you can specify that the specific field that's confidential, and using the reg utils, when you create new records, those fields will be encrypted. basically. So this is, again, the same file of the maintainers, now supporting some data integrity. So you see, in the record descriptor, apart from the basic direct special field, we have defined now a key, and we specify that the type of the field email must be an actual email. In the package side, we say that we want at least to have a URL associated with each packet. But now you may wonder, but what is enforcing all those rules? And the answer is that if you are creating your rec file by hand, nothing. I mean, that's the idea. Because it would be interesting for you to have a rec file containing a database with integrity problems in a temporary way, whatever. So the idea is that you can edit your rec file by hand, and if you do mistakes, there will be a data integrity problem. But then you can use one of the refuters, which is called recfix, we will see. You can pass that problem in this file, and that program will tell you, give you a detailed report of any data integrity problem. That's the idea. Okay, now, just to give you an idea of what is supported. For types, we are supporting, simple types like integer, booleans. Booleans accept yes, no, 0, 1, TF, several common accepted conventions. Real numbers. Line, this line type is useful because you specify that the value of this field must not expand to several lines. That's useful when you want to store some information that you have, if you have then some restriction or display or something, you're generating some kind of report or whatever. And then some convenience types like date. The date has a parser, the recutils, it supports many different formats, like 2 days ago, it's like the date command. Actually, it's using exactly the same code for newlib that the date command. And emails. Then you can, for example, say names with this event field name like this, at match, they can span for this number of characters. You can define the size for fields. You have a very general utility, which is you can use a regular expression to define your own type. So, for example, if in your database you have 5 different types of items in your database, you can define a regular expression and enumeration. Well, and then type defs. This is an example of an enumeration, which is, in my experience, one of the most useful ones. It's very simple. For example, imagine that you want to store tasks in a project, for example. And then here you can declare with this special field that the type of the field status for each task is an enumeration accepting, it can be an to-do, assigned, done, or discarded status. Okay, it's very simple. Then, to improve readability, since you can't put comments into the field values, in case of enumerations, you can, any text which is include between parentheses is ignored. So you can do this. You can put little descriptions of the meaning of any enumerated value. Okay, for regular expressions, something similar. For example, here is a rec file containing something related with files, and it's using a regular expression to restrict to make sure that all the files are valid paths. It's using the same regular expression syntax as the C library, so that's easy. Then, as I mentioned before, the rec utils also support a special field name which is called author. This is very useful because, well, many times in a database, it would, for example, this is the item in a stock, right? For every item, we have got an ID, a title, and then a created date, and probably more information. The auto field can be used for two main purposes. The first one is to support auto-incremented IDs, which is a pain to maintain by hand, actually. So if you declare a field as an auto field, and the type of the field is a key or a scalar type, it is an auto counter. So every time you insert a new item record, it will create it with an ID with the value, the higher ID plus 1. if you specify an auto field which is of type date, like in this case, a timestamp is created instead. So basically, with this text file, all we have to do is to insert the new title every time we want to insert a news record, and both the ID and the date, the creation date, will be filled automatically. Then the rec files are supporting encryption as well. This is the example I was talking about before. Actually, this is a real rec file that they use. Obviously, the encrypted strings are not the same, but well, this is a list. I am maintaining for every mailing list I have got access to. I maintain a record like this. Then I have the password and the administration password encrypted. So I declare them as confidential here. So that means that every time I create a new record with the RecUtil, they get encrypted. Note, however, that for a given mailing list, you could use this file. And one thing is the password, the personal password, and something different is the administration password for a mailbound mailing list. With RecUtils, you can declare both fields as encrypted as confidential, and it is possible to use one password for one of the fields and a different password for the other. It's possible. The effect is that when you make a rec cell or you extract information and you use one of the passwords, you will get one of the fields unencrypted, the encrypted value, and the other one you get this ugly string. That will be the effect. Okay, that is the format. What I just told you. It's extremely simple. It's no more than that. Now, the software, which is the GNU RecUtils distribution, is, as I already said, a C library and a set of C utilities and an Emacs mode. Actually, two Emacs modes. The library, it just provides a list of a useful API. So in case you want to, for example, to make your program to read or to write rec files, it makes it a simple activity. And then those are the currently available utilities. All of them are little C written utilities. RecInf, RecCell, RecInst, RecDel, RecSet, RecFix, this RecFMT, and then a little set of conversion utilities to convert from and to rec file from other formats, which is quite handy. Okay, RecInf. This is extremely simple. You run RecInf in a rec file like this, RecInf.rec, and then it tells you how many records of each type of records you have got in the file. If you use -d, you get instead of this summary, you get the record descriptors. Okay, trivial. Then RecCell. RecCell is the utility that you will use, or you will want to use, in case you want to extract information from rec file in a programmatic way, from a script or even in the command line. Okay, in this case, for example, is from GNU.rec, which, remember, is storing two kinds of records, maintainers and packages. I want to list the packages, -t, for type package. So we get the expected result. But then you can specify that you want the packet in the second position with -n. We get just that package. Or we want to list all the packages for which, all the maintainers stored in the database for which having one or more emails. So we will use this selection expression. You see, -a, number of emails bigger than 0. Or we may want to list all the maintainers for which having some email in a .org domain. We will use this selection expression. Or we would like to list all the maintainers whose primary email, which is the email field stored in the first position in the record, is in another domain. Or we could select from a function a database containing the name of our functions and the cyclomatic complexity. I want to select all the functions having a cyclomatic complexity bigger than 10 and not tested. You say you can build complex query expressions. Using those selection expressions, I have got complaints and hate emails because in the library, I use the sex for selection expression for the symbol. So in case you use the library, don't bother to complain. I don't care. Okay, you have got a decent set of operators in selection expression. Logic, simple arithmetic. Obviously, the arithmetic only works on fields, having a value that can be interpreted as a number. Regular expression matching of patterns, subscripts. And they implement backtracking. So by default, remember that you can have several fields having the same name in a record. So if you write a selection expression saying that my intern is having an email in an OR domain using the expression, the evaluation of the selection expression is it does backtracking. It backtracks. So it tries all the emails. That includes all the combination, all possible combinations, unless you specify a specific field using the subscripts. Okay, but what if I am only interested in the emails of the maintainers? You can use -p, so you can get in rec format, you can get the emails, just the emails. Okay, but what if I am interested in the value of the fields? I don't want Rexel to print rec format, but the emails, you use -p instead, name of the field. So you see, you get the emails. Yeah, but still I want a list with the white lines. Okay, you use -big-c, which is to collapse the output. And you get a list of emails that then you can use to spam, for example, for spamming or whatever. Oh yeah, but then I want it in columns. Okay, you use -big-r instead of -big-p, and this is the row printing. Oh yeah, but I want something different. You don't use Rexel, you use RecFMT, which allows you to use templates. I don't have a slide for that utility, but yeah, you know. But what if some field is encrypted? Okay, you use, this is not -big-p, it's -big-s. And you specify a password to Rexel. So Rexel will try to use this password to unencrypt any field which is declared as confidential and it is encrypted. It recognizes the encrypted fields because they use this encrypted dash prefix in the file. This way we avoid having to ship the password itself or a hash of the password in the rec file. Oh yeah, but then I want to sort the output of -big-s. Important about encryption. This is using libgcrypt and it must be reasonable safe. But I don't have to warn you, because of course you knew that from the beginning. Don't store extremely critical information in a rec file. Okay, because it's asymmetric, it is asymmetric algorithm and it is not extremely safe. It's fine for passwords for a mailman list, but don't rely on the security provided by Reckins or Rexel. Okay, Rexing, in the same way that you would use Rexel to extract information, with Reckins you can insert records. So this is the second way. The first way to insert information in a rec file is to fire a text editor, Emacs, and you write down your record. But if you want to get benefit of encryption or these autofills or whatever, you want to use Reckins. As you can see, it's trivial. Insert a new record of type packets, and then you can change page of -f for field name and -b for value. In this case, a new record having a field name with this value, a field named URL with this value, and insert it in this file. This will create a new record of type package. It also works as a filter. So then it emits the result of the operation in the standard output instead of making the destructive operation in the file. That is RecIns. It's not here in the slide, but if you want to create a new record having a confidential field, if you specify -s a password, it will encrypt any confidential field of the new record using the password that you are providing. So that's how you insert new encrypted information in that file. Recdel is similar, in the sense that you can specify which record you want to, but to delete or to comment out. For example, this will remove all the records of all the packages from the database. If used in an interactive way, Rectel will warn you and will ask you to use a ---- force to do this specific operation. Or the contact number 10. Or you can use a selection expression as well. I want to remove all the records containing all the contacts having this email. Or you can comment out with -c instead of physically deleting the stuff. With recset, recins is inserting records. Recdel is deleting records. With recset, you can alter the contents of records. You can add new fields to an existing record. You can change the value of an existing field. And you can delete or comment out specific fields in an existing record. Right? Then we have got recfix. Recfix, it supports several operations. The most obvious one is to check the integrity of a rec file. So for example, you can just apply it to a file and it will output any integrity problem or in the standard output with enough information so you can find out the source of the problem and a description. For example, that in this line of this new.rec file, there is a field declared as an integer, but the value is not an integer. So this is a data integrity problem. But Recfix supports more operations, like for example, to sort physically a file, the records in a record set. Then, okay, maybe in the future it will be adding some interactive capabilities, but maybe not, who knows. For example, you can use Recfix to encrypt confidential fields which are declared as confidential but are not encrypted. Because you forgot, because you edited it with your text editor, and okay? Or you can decrypt all the encrypted fields with a given password. So Recfix is, in some sense, is like the Swiss knife of the utilities. Then, oh, there is a problem with the formatting of this slide. Okay. Then we have the conversion utilities. We have utilities to convert from and to comma-separated values, in case you want to interact with some database, or web page, or I don't know, whatever. And then, this is one that unfortunately I have to use quite a lot. This is a converter from Microsoft Access files into rec files. This utility is quite sophisticated in the sense that it is able to get the data integrity as well from the access files and creating the record descriptors which are equivalent to the integrity information stored in the internal tables of the MDB file. It works. I use it because unfortunately my job was some disgusting people sending disgusting files. And so now I have to take a look at what they contain. So MDB2Rec does that for you. And then, of course, there is an Emacs mode. I have to say that the Rec Emacs mode it needs a lot of love. And I feel very guilty because I focus my attention in making releases and releases of fixing bugs, but I still need to give the Emacs mode much more love. So it sort of works, but it's not very good, I have to say. It should have some functionality. Then, starting with 1.4, we have got support for org Babel. Do you know what org mode is? Of course, yes. Well, you must. This is a must in your life. Seriously, it will change everything. Org mode in Emacs. Okay, with org mode we have got this rec interface. So, for example, you can, in an org file, for publication, for example, get the data from this rec file of the maintainers, those fields, you can specify a selection expression here, so then you will get a very nice table which will get exported in your document when you generate a PDF or LaTeX or whatever from the org file. I use this all the time, for example, in my job, when I have to generate test reports, for example. I have the tests in reg files, so then with the template support and this, I generate the nice documents, LaTeX documents with all the tables and all the information. Well, it's useful. The current status of the RecUtils. I released 1.4 a few days ago, after 2 pre-releases. Thanks to the new platforms testers GNU list, for the first time I managed to fix the portability problems before the release and not after. And this is a new experience for me, actually, to not have to do an emergency release 1 week after the last release. Looks like everything works in many platforms. And then eventually we'll start working for the next release, which will be 1.5. I have some requests because there is some people using reg files to do crazy things. I think that they are crazy because, you know, for some things MySQL is too complex, but for other things it's perfect, right? I mean, that's the tool that you must use. And there is people out there which are using reg files to do things that, I mean, it's working, but I don't know, it's scary. So they are asking me, we want better templates with iteration, with conditionals, and I will do that because I live to please the people. Then you may be wondering if there is some support for foreign keys in reg files. There will be in 1.5. Actually, there is a non-documented feature in the current RecUtil supporting foreign keys, but I don't document them because I hate what they designed at the beginning is shit. I mean, it looked like a good idea at the beginning, but then I came to the conclusion that it's very bad. So I removed all the documentation of the compound fields and I made a new design that will be in place in 1.5. So you will be able to make joins and to make reference to other records from the record. With joins as well. And this time I will fix the Emacs mode as well. So, if you are interested, RecUtils, they are in Debian, in Fedora, in Arc, well, in many distributions. Funny enough, this is the first time I do a release of a program, and the Fedora gets the new version before Debian does. Actually, and that's it. Debian, I think it's still the 1.3. Something, and now Fedora has the 1.4. So, well done. And okay, you can get Git clone if you want the exciting and features and the horrible bugs of the day. You just clone the Git repository, and in case you clone and play with it, I will appreciate any bug report that you can send to the development mailing list. That I guess that you know that for every GNU package, you see, this is about GNU development at the end. For every GNU packet, there is always a mailing list, or in 99% of the cases, if the name of the GNU package is GNU foo, for example, or GNU hello, which exists, the right place where to send back reports is back-hello@gnu.org. And that works for 99% of the GNU programs. So it's a good shortcut, so you don't have to go to the web to, where must I send the GNU RecUtils tags? back-recutils@gnu.org, and they will be very welcome, especially if you send a patch as well, or money, I don't care. And that's it. Questions?
Yes, when you enter the password, you supply it as an argument, and that will end up in your bash history. Is it possible to ask for it interactively? Or you want
For the passwords?
Yeah, when you...
Oh, that is a very good question.
Well,
yes, it's not implemented, but
yeah.
just ask. It's like in Christmas. But if you send a bug report, because this is a bug, it's clearly a bug, to bug at dash
It's just a thought.
utils. No, it's very interesting. I appreciate it.
Because MySQL does that when you connect to it. You can either
If MySQL does that, we must do it as well.
no, the idea comes from there.
No, really. Do it, please. But make sure to send the email because we will forget everything.
Yeah, because if you run psaux and the command is running, every user on the system can see.
Okay, actually I think that leave jcrypt, is Simon there? No, Simon is gone. It's funny because yesterday I had Werner. It's unbelievable. If someone told me in advance, I would not believe that. You know what is to have the maintainer of the GNU privacy word, and then Simon Josephson, who is the author of most of the security packages we have got in GNU, they both bashing me. But security is not really effective. Could you believe that? Because Richard said that in his talk, you see that at the end, security it's ironic at minimum, right?
Sure.
Yes.
I was thinking something else related to the passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Storing passwords in this way is bad practice.
Probably
you might want to-
is bad practice as well. I mean,
You might want to add support for one of the hashing methods that people commonly use. One of the good ones that are popular, I think, I forget the name of it. But basically, any sort of salted hash would be better than this. And then you would just need a query mode where you can say, is this password correct? And it can perform the hash and say, yes, that was the correct password or not. Asking
Yeah.
for the password is
But you're storing the password you're supposed to use somewhere else here.
No,
you need it in clear text.
generally speaking, you do not ever store a user's password.
Well,
You don't want to do that. You want to store a hash of the
you,
password.
you want to remember all the passwords, but if you don't remember all the passwords, you want to store some of the less
The correct-
critical ones in a file.
No,
That
no.
is what this is.
Sure,
used
this can be useful
This
for
is
that.
like a key.
That's one use case. But he was talking about storing other people's passwords for a mailing list, and that is extremely bad security practice.
no, but
but you
just an
can store
example.
the hash.
Yes, you
You
can store
can
the
hash
hash,
it and put in the hashing list.
and that would be perfectly fine. So you could support hashing and encourage.
Can you send a summary of this to the mailing list as well?
Sure.
Then I will take a look, and if you want to implement it,
I'll consider it, but I would definitely send you.
I will buy you a beer or two. More questions? Yes.
Can you have the record description in a separate file?
Oh yes, even in a remote file. If you actually, what is that slide? Oh, funny.
It can be that just in this moment I wrote it down here and didn't listen to you.
If it is supported here after the name of the record list in this case, if you put a file path, it will read a record descriptor with the same type from that file. If you put a URL, it will get it from that URL. You can do some kind of object orientation, bad practice probably as well, because you can, for example, have an URL here, an external descriptor in an external file, and you can still extend it here. So the final record descriptor will be the sum of the remote one and the local one. I did this because of the, do you remember these old Linux software map files? No, it was many years ago. The name is not good. It should be GNU Linux map, software map file. But anyway, it was many programs. They had a text file with URL, name of the package, contact information. So it was something like a distributed base. Now we have got something similar in the FSF free software directory. And I thought, okay, from now on, in every packet, I will include an FSD file with a record with information of the packet. And then it has a URL to a central authority which contains the record descriptor defining what information you must define. If you run regfix, it will download the record descriptor and make all the checkings. So yes, you can. Yeah.
In your filter mode, do you preserve comments?
Oh, sure. And that was a hell, I can tell you.
I'm sure it was, but it's not so easy.
Yes, I'm glad you asked it, because more people don't appreciate it, and of course, a sheet, of course, yeah. Actually, the idea of direct files is that it must be, it must ask you to edit them by hand. So of course it's preserving comments, yeah.
No, I was talking about the rec filtering, the piping tool.
Yeah. It's not just preserving your comments. It's preserving them in the same place they were before, which is tricky, especially when you delete the stuff. And it's not perfect, but okay. More questions?
Do you do any kind of locking on the files, or is that?
Well, yeah, someone told me that SQLite is using the flock interface. So I took a look I did man flock, or I don't remember the syscall or the libc function. So yes, probably it will go to 1.5. So no, it's not implemented, but yes, I would not mind, to have it. It looks like it is useful. So again, if you want to provide a patch, you know the address. I will push it immediately. More questions? Okay, the last one, because I must
An
go to
idea,
the-
just for everyone. If you really want to store your passwords, and you could use an external tool like bcrypt to encrypt the whole file.
If you really want to store your passwords, the best thing, in my opinion, is to get the GPG and encrypt the rec file entirely with your 4 million bits key. I mean, this is just in case someone take a look to the file, it could not see it straight away. Must walk something. If he wants to get your passwords out of the file. So it's not for strong security. It's not even for normal security. It's for Postman security. Still, it is useful. Okay, so thank you, and get the program and send back to you.